This is episode 70 of Zen and the Art of Real Estate Investing with my guest, Veena Jetti. Veena is the founding partner of Vive Funds, a unique commercial real estate firm specializing in curating conservative opportunities for investors. She has over a decade of real estate experience and over $1 billion in real estate assets through her career. Veena, welcome to the show.
Hello. Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, me too. I always like to start here. When you were younger, did you have any interest in real estate at all?
Oh, wow. Okay. You're going to just start with like the heavy questions. Okay. So here's the thing. I want to say no because I really thought it was kind of boring, but I come from a real estate family. So I don't know that I had a choice to like be interested or not because I was just around it all the time.
Yeah. Do you feel like you were trying to resist it so much because it was so much a part of it?
Yeah, definitely. Yes. When I graduated from college, I got my degree in finance, and my mom, who is the one that started our family's investment company, was like, "Hey, now you can come like work for the family business." And I was like, "I'm an adult with a degree, so I'm going to do something totally on my own and different." And then I went and worked in corporate real estate. So I just made a lot of money for someone else instead.
Right. Well, so at what point did it kind of crystallize like, hey, I should make that money for myself?
The first year that I paid taxes as a married person, my husband and I got married in 2012 and we paid taxes. And I was like, what just happened? And I called my mom and I was like, Mom, what do we do? And she's like, quit your job and be a full-time real estate professional and be a professional investor. It's the biggest tax hack of all time. And I was like, okay, that sounds reasonable. So I quit my job and here I am.
Yeah, but so where does that come from for you, the thought of scale? Because I think it's important. I like people to think scale investing, but I think like new investors are thinking scale sometimes too early. What in your background and makeup helped you know like 5 in a week is cool, but that's not going to be enough for me the way that I want to go?
Well, I was the one managing all of that. So I actually have kind of the opposite view. I think people don't scale fast enough.
Okay.
And I say that because knowing what I know today, I would have gone straight to large multifamily. I would not have stopped at Go. I would not have collected $200. I would have just gone straight past it and started, all the way at the other end of the board. So for me, it was that I was managing everything. I was running all my own crews. I was having to deal with all of the, the 3 T's, right? Tenants, termites, and toilets. And I did not.
All the good stuff.
Yeah, I hated it. And I hated having to like lie to tenants. Like I'm just like not a very good liar in general. So I don't very often. And I remember like I had this unit and they would always pay late. It was my best return I've ever made on any investment to date. But it was so frustrating to handle because I would have to call like every day and be like, hey, where's the rent? And then, I'd lie because I couldn't tell them that like I was the owner. So I'd be like, my boss is like really pressuring me and, I'm going to get in trouble. And like, I just felt bad lying about it. I didn't want that. So I actually really wanted to have the amount of units it took to justify having a property manager dedicated to my stuff. And I quickly discovered that was actually right around like 70 units, maybe 60 at that time.
Yeah.
And so I was like, I need to get there fast.
What do you think the hardest part is now, being at this level where you have access? What's tough now?
I think 2 things for me personally. One is impact is kind of where I'm more interested. So it's actually like less exciting for me to do deals than it was before because, I'm crossing the $1 billion mark this month. The next deal we close will put me over $1 billion in transactions, which I thought was going to feel like really exhilarating and amazing. And I can tell you that it does not feel like the same accomplishment as impact does to me now. And, maybe it's just by virtue of having waited this long, right?
Yeah.
So I was at a conference last weekend. We were at community camp, and I was listening to someone speak, and he was like, it's the ILI model. Income, first you try to get the income, which I did, and then you try to get the lifestyle, which I did. And then he says you go back to I, which is now impact. And I'm like right at that part of it where I care about that so much that it's like kind of navigating how to do that and what that actually means. And, I feel kind of intimidated because like this is totally uncharted territory for me. I've never gone out with a mission of impact to help other people do this. So that's one. And I think the second thing for me is I still have imposter syndrome. Even after all these deals, it's still a real struggle. And, like people will ask me, especially now as like I'm getting asked to speak on bigger stages and on different podcasts that are like podcasts that I never thought I deserved to be on. Right. And I now am like on them. They're like asking me back, and I'm like looking over, like, who am I talking to? Right. Like, it's that sort of thing. So that's actually, I think, a big challenge for me. And it's funny too, because when I tell people this, they're like, what do you mean you have imposter syndrome? That's so weird. I'm like, I know, but it's real.
So on large scale multifamily now, with a lot of people I've talked to, Jay Scott, Ashley Wilson, we've all been talking about the raise in insurance right now, especially in the South. Is that a big issue for you when you're, Florida, Carolinas? Insurance has gone up in those areas where there are a little bit more potential for environmental weather disasters. How has that changed your philosophy on those states?
I mean, we're definitely underwriting it differently. It hasn't changed the philosophy about the fundamentals of those markets, but it definitely has changed how we're underwriting those deals. Like we used to underwrite, I remember years ago when we would underwrite it like $225 a door for insurance, and now we're underwriting at like $1,100 a door.
Yeah, that's crazy. That's crazy.
It's interesting what's happening in insurance markets, and I really wonder in Florida, because they're facing such a potential crisis with insurance not being solvent enough to pay out on claims. I don't know. I think we're maybe going to start seeing some like governmental interference into insurance, or like a mandate, or I don't know what it looks like exactly, but something.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. There's definitely something that there's a problem, especially with Florida right now, that I think the problem is when you see that there's going to be a problem, it also means like, oh, wait, okay, there may be deals coming for us, and you're like hedging the future potential of deals versus the future potential of insurance all together. Or some people.
It's breaking the underwriting on many assets in the Southeast. So it's definitely tougher.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how that plays out, along with all the commercial debt that's due, and what people are going to do. Is that something that's interesting for you if you're looking at big deals? If that people are going to get called on that large scale commercial debt, if they have arms or things like that, is that a potential asset base that you would look into?
Yeah, definitely. I think for me though, it's actually a little bit more scary, because I think a lot of investors are going to get hurt along the way. And when a passive investor gets hurt or loses money, they're never investing ever again. And I think it makes it harder for people like me to be able to go out and raise capital.